Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire. And this is the Steven Seagal series. The most comprehensive analysis of the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Steven Seagal. Actor, writer, producer, martial arts master, musician, comedian, political ambassador, and philanthropist the world over, reincarnated llama, fashionista icon putting on his own fashion shows in India. I mean, is there anything this guy can't do and hasn't done? Sheriff's deputy? Border Patrol agent, training the Russian military in the Russian-Ukrainian war. Obviously, that's not necessarily a good thing, but a Mongol, an Italian, a Native American, a clairvoyant. We've gone over several dozen hours of receipts thus far in this series, completely exposing the Illuminati propaganda smear campaign against quite possibly the most accomplished human in the history of existence. I mean, is there a single individual out there with a more storied career and pedigree within the traditional martial arts than Steven Seagal? So there's the intro. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Hit the bell for notifications. Like and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. Patreons do get priority for case topical analysis, co-podcast requests. You can also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave in the comment section. Unless, of course, you're with us here live. Drop them in the live chat. I'll try to get to each and every one of them. And you can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube to help support the channel that way. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode in the Steven Seagal series. We got Run Boston Bear in here, Amphibious J, South to West, saying, after all the receipts that have been produced on Steven Seagal, I argue that the burden of proof is on the party claiming he was not in the CIA. Lord Zed says, I watched 2015 Absolution with my parents the other day. You seem to watch a lot of movies with your parents, Lord Zed. By the way, I still have to catch up on the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, The Bouncer. I gotta check that out. And I'm actually ashamed to say I don't believe I've seen Absolution. Is that... I believe it's... Let's see. There was one Steven Seagal movie that was... He said it... Oh, no, it was... I think Attrition 2018 is the one he claims is his best movie in over a decade. So, yeah, I think it was Attrition. And he showcases some traditional kung fu in that movie. I haven't seen either, but I definitely have to get to them. We definitely have to get to them. All right. So... the main issue here is, has Steven Seagal ever even stated he was directly employed by the agency? And we examined this a little bit in the inaugural episode, the inaugural 4.5 hour Seagal episode. But I'll be bringing even more receipts here. Welcome, Aaron. So let's start off with this uncut, raw interview on with Jimmy Carter. Yeah, not that Jimmy Carter. So this is one of the first raw, uncut interviews, if not the very first one, with Seagal. So let's see what he states here.
How
he actually did a number of interviews with Jimmy Carter, and they're kind of funny, especially when he doesn't think they're rolling. So let's examine the mannerisms of Steven Seagal. Now, this is before he was recognized as a reincarnated llama, by the way. Make of that what you will.
I don't know how he does it.
What exactly was his role? He had to raise the money? Or?
He had no role.
No.
Absolutely.
But this
no
movie
role.
had to have one?
Long story, man. I don't know how he even got his name in there personally. But.
Oh, okay, excuse me. Mr. Carter, I'm tight on you right now.
All right, I'm just going to nod, Stephen, and look stupid here.
So, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those. What was your name again?
Colette.
Colette or Colette or Colette?
Anyway.
Anyway?
I say Colette.
You say Colette. She has a nice Atlanta accent.
No, I'm not from here.
She's got some great stories about being named Colette, too.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm from, I grew up in Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Now, she's from Tennessee, you know what that means?
Knoxville.
Hey, how close do you need to work this microphone here? About right here?
That'll be fine
Okay.
right there. And
Now, move this. Is it still all right?
Yeah, you sound fine. It's
Okay.
actually pointing towards your mouth a little more than it was
All
before,
right,
so it's
great.
fine.
Okay.
How do I need to sit here? You doing this kind of
Over
What
the
I'm doing
shoulder.
right here is a tight
Head on?
shot of him.
pretty much head on?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm tight on him. Later on, I'll come back. I'll do a wide shot of him.
All right, good. Let me know.
You're doing it.
All right. Well, Stephen, congratulations, first of all. You look like a real natural in the movies. Was that natural for you to be an actor?
Well, I think if it looked natural to you, you know, I mean, that's probably the answer. Yeah, I try not to act.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the most important thing in acting is to not act. You know.
When you got out there the first day, I mean, was it the same performance you gave, 30 days later? Did you get into the groove a little bit?
Well, I think, you know, I looked at every foot and every inch of the dailies and tried to study my performance every day. So I hope that, as in any craft, I hope that I got a little bit better as we went along, as I think, anybody who really works hard to perfect their craft does,
But you picked up the self-confidence a little bit more probably as it went on? Or not
I
really?
don't think so. I think, I went in there with the same attitude that I finished with.
I mean, that's kind of hilarious. Jimmy was insinuating. He was insinuating that Seagal somehow wouldn't be confident, even though he's acting in a movie for the first time, that he might not be confident. Seagal set him straight, that he finished the movie with the same confidence that he started the movie with. And look at the intensity of Seagal. Zed says, I specifically picked the rarest stuff I possibly can that I think you didn't watch it. Well, you know what's funny? I actually I think I said on one of the previous lives, I started watching The Bouncer. I watched the first 3 minutes, and then I got a phone call or something. With Absolution, I also have it. Obviously, I have Seagal's entire filmography, I believe. I believe I have every single film. And, yeah, I just didn't get around to watching them. The latest Seagal, I'm trying to think what the... I went over it in one of these episodes in this series. I believe... Let me see the most recent Seagal movie I've seen. It's kind of blasphemous. We're all in here, and we haven't seen Seagal's entire filmography. I have to say, I was disappointed with Ticker back in 2001. So, Ticker, I think that came out the same year as Exit Wounds. Exit Wounds is phenomenal, by the way. I would say Exit Wounds is Seagal's last masterpiece. I mean, that film is incredible. We might have to do a watch party on that one. You got Steven Seagal and DMX and Anthony Anderson. Actually, you know what? Should we play a clip from it? Hold on a second. I might have to play a clip. I might have to. Obviously, fair use, but this is... So, yeah, the last Seagal movie I've seen... I'm trying to see, I think I might have seen A Good Man, which was 2014. I haven't seen all of them. I mean, Actually, no, it looks like I didn't see it. I would have seen... Let's see. Born to Raise Hell. That was the last Seagal movie I've seen, 2010. I definitely saw that one. Yeah. Born to Raise Hell. And I've seen most of the ones before that. A Dangerous Man, The Keeper, Driven to Kill. Have not seen Against the Dark. I did see Kill Switch. I may not have seen... Actually, yeah, no, I haven't seen Pistol Whipped, believe it or not. What an epic name. And Urban Justice, I did not see. Wow, Steven Seagal and Eddie Griffin. Oh, man. How have I not seen that one? And then I've seen pretty much all the other ones. Mercenary for Justice. I actually did not see Black Dawn. Today You Die, Submerged into the Sun, Out of Reach, Belly of the Beast, Out for a Kill, The Foreigner, Half Past Dead, and yeah, I've seen all the ones before that. Okay, so yeah, Ticker came out the same year as Exit Wounds, and Ticker is pretty bad. I mean, I think it might be worse than some of his more recent films. It was just so bad. So, yeah, welcome Finn. Lord Zed says, you have it in a glass case with Mission Impossible laser beams. Oh, man. Finn, make sure you catch up on this entire series for all the Steven Seagal receipts. He seems to have understated all of his accomplishments. This man is simply talented at being talented. So, yeah, hold on. Let me play this clip from Exit Wounds for people who haven't seen it. Let me set the stage proper here. This might be one of the funniest scenes in movie history. And spoiler, Seagal is actually not in this particular scene. But just to set the stage of what kind of film this is, I mean, this is one of the funniest. And, I mean, it's just everything about it. The acting, the timing, the music, everything about it. I mean, this is just... Exit Wounds might be one of the last action masterpieces. 2001. Fair use incoming here. Nothing but fair use. Fair use all the time here on MINDSHOCK. Nothing but fair use. Did I mention that this is fair use? Let me mention the fair use one more time just in case.
Gregory, don't worry about it. I've got them. They're my people, and if they're not buying, they're walking. Woo! This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about.
Nice color.
Yeah, if you puffy. Shit. Good afternoon, homies. My name is Alan Morris, and if there's anything I can help you with, I'm your dog.
Get the fuck out of here, man. Is that the new 993 Turbo?
Actually, that's the 993 Carrera.
Shit. Yo, we got 8 cylinders, right? They kick out 600 horsepower, right?
That's 6 cylinders, 475 horsepower.
Whatever.
Would you mind not leaning on the...
Oh, shit. I could get some ass from the twins in this dog. This the one. This
Hello,
is
Mrs.
the one.
Johnson, how are you?
Oh, hell yeah.
Who here hasn't seen this? I mean, it's about to get really funny. It's about to get really funny. Lord Zed says, did you see Shadow Man? That's a good question. A lot of those movies just blend together. I'm not sure. Let me double check here. This is also Anthony Anderson's finest hour, in my opinion. This was 2006. Yeah, I saw this one. Don't remember it too good, but yeah, if it was 2006, I'm pretty sure I've seen it. Just skipping through the trailer right now. It actually does not look from... I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, maybe I... I can't tell. I mean, I watched so many of these movies back then. Maybe? I'm not sure. Maybe. But anyway, let's get back to this scene here. Absolutely hilarious for those who haven't seen it.
Ooh, Johnson got a fat ass. I got something for you, Miss Johnson. Hey, look, you're not allowed to play any music
Why
here.
do good
Could you
girls
turn it off, please?
like
Could you
bad
turn the
guys?
music
Hey, yo,
off,
boo, why
please?
do good girls like bad
Turn
guys?
the music
Showing
off,
that
please,
bad
brother.
guys, show mad lies.
And why do when a honey with class? Sometimes you want more than just a honey with ass.
Hey, yo, who would ever think that the two would go good? Midtown honey, nigga from the hood, but knock on wood, I got this bitch. Excuse me, she don't like to be called a bitch. Try not to lose me, the rules we go by. Where I'm from, she don't know.
It is not a toy. Miss Johnson was shaking her ass. Hey, Miss Johnson, shake your ass, baby. Shake it. Miss Johnson. Hey, look here, dog. You think I can hit some corners in this? You know, take it on a test drive.
I'm sorry, our policy is no test drives.
How about hooking a brother up or something then?
Hooking a brother up. The cheapest car we have here is $75,000.
That it? Got a lot of headroom, get it?
Yo.
Headroom.
This is it.
Oh, yeah. See? My man got taste.
Asshole, he's got something.
Shit.
You like
Yo, dog, this shit is hot, man. Yo, how much is here for, man? What, 200?
Actually, 285.
They better suck and fuck me for 285, man.
Actually, there are only 7 of these for sale in the U.S.
That many. Yo, dog, pop the hood, man. I want to see what 285 look like.
That's the hood. That's the trunk. That's okay.
Yeah, start it up, dog.
No, I'm sorry. It's our policy. You can't start up the car. It's policy. Sorry.
What in the... What do you think you're doing? Hey, you! Could you turn off the engine? Could you turn off the motherfucking engine off?
You don't have to yell. All you have to do is ask. You get much better results.
Will you please just leave?
No. I want this.
Well, unless you decide you'd like to live in this, I suggest that
I suggest you get started on the paperwork.
What do these people think? Oh my God.
It's 300 in there. Make sure he gets the commission.
He get...
Keep the change.
You know, maybe I did. You know.
When I say I'm going around the way, she gets up. Come on, baby. You all right with me? That's why I like her. Couldn't treat her like a hood rat. Didn't fight her. Turn a church girl to a straight.
Whatever happened to Anthony Anderson? He was semi-funny in a couple movies, like this one. But anyway, let's get back to Steven Seagal and his involvement with the CIA. I don't even know how we went. We were talking about... Oh, it was all Lord Zed's fault. Talking about watching a Seagal movie. Alright, so let's continue with the interview here. Obviously, that was all fair use all the time.
You know,
Your background is anything but a struggling actor.
it's true.
You know, people try their whole life to get a gig in Hollywood that have started out in theater and worked their way up, and then did Hollywood find you, or did you find Hollywood?
Well, I think Hollywood found me, and I mean, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I didn't work hard to come into this situation. But at the same time, I mean, this is the most difficult thing for me to talk about because I could make something up that would sound better. The truth is just too hard to believe for everybody. But I guess the truth of the matter is that the president of Warner Brothers was a friend of mine, and he had been very interested in me as an actor for a long time. He felt that I was very charismatic and that I had a look. And I was interested in writing, but, you know, I hadn't really considered, you know, acting as, you know, something that I could really do, the starring thing. I just, you know, it never occurred to me that I could pull this off. And but the reason that I decided to do it, I mean, there were several, but one of the ones was that a few of my closest friends, you know, that are pretty much high up in Hollywood had been saying, and you've really got the look, and you got the charisma, and you got this, and you got that. And for years, I'd be walking into a restaurant or somewhere, and people come up to me and say, "What have I seen you in?" Or, "I enjoy your work," you know, or "You were great in this," you know. And I could never understand why, and I started to try to put the pieces together, and I thought, well, let's give it a try, you know.
I guess you kind of have to. If you're living out there and people are trying to get you in, you got to do it. Was it easy writing for you? You knew the story up in your head, but putting the words down?
Yeah, I think writing, you know, I mean, I was really lucky in the sense that Terry said, okay, we're going to let you put this together the way you want. I picked the director I wanted, picked the writers I wanted, and, you know, we sat down and we did it. Like I said, if this film turns out bad, it's all my fault, you know.
And if it turns out good, it's all your fault.
I mean, just look at how humble this man is. Not to mention, like, how many first-time Hollywood actors get to call all the shots? The writing, the story, etc. They get to call all the shots and take full responsibility of their first outing. And he said if the film turns out good, it's all your fault. Seagal didn't agree with that. He didn't agree with that. He would probably give credit to all the people involved, but take the blame if it were bad. Very interesting interview for sure here so far.
You have a definite opinion about violence in films. Now, there is violence in this movie because it's a police story and it's a violent story. But you have a thing about gratuitous violence. You think violence really has to fit, right?
Well, I think, you know, more than that, story has to exist. And I think in a lot of the action films, there's just no story. You know, just no story. You know, a story to me has a beginning, a middle, an end. It's about something that people care about. It has sympathetic characters that are deep characters, you know, that are human, and they're not cardboard.
I mean, just look how cerebral Seagal is. Like, most of these goofs, like, no offense to Michael Dudikoff and some of these other guys who just did these cheesy action movies, which, you know, they had a little bit of story sometimes, but, like, some of those ninja movies, there really wasn't much there. And look how cerebral Seagal is here. Really, really pushing the need for story and character within action movies, so it's not just about the violence. I mean, definitely a thinking man, to say the least.
And I think once you have all that with a good structure, good characters, good story, then if the story pertains to any kind of emotion at all that would relate to action and violence, it'll organically grow up from it. Gratuitous violence to me is usually the resort of those that don't have a story and they just want to rely on mindless entertainment, which is something that I don't want to do. And I think that in this film, just because there is action doesn't take away from the story, or it shouldn't. You know, a lot of times if a film has a lot of action, people will tend to look at it as only an action film. Well, this film, as I think you'll agree, Jimmy, has a lot of a story that people are real concerned about in current affairs today. It's about something that people are very concerned about. And I think if you took the action out of this film, you know, it would still stand on its own. And I don't think that it's fair that because a film has action in it, it doesn't get any of the acclaim that it normally would. I think if you took the action out of this film and it was just story, it would really, from a lot of the critics, get, you know, really wonderful critical acclaim, you know. But even the academies and you know, awards and critics, they all tend to think that if a film has action in it, it can't have a story, and I disagree.
Yeah, and martial arts gets a bad rap too because it has been exploited in some movies before.
Well, this film, as you know, has nothing to do with the martial arts, and no more than 3 Days of the Condor or Marathon Man. You know, there's a little bit of martial arts in it because it's something that I happen to know, but I too must agree with you. I think the bad rap is appropriate. I think that just about every martial art film I've ever seen has been impalatable. It's just
like a cartoon.
Yeah, they are a cartoon. I mean, they're disgusting. I mean, for me, I think that the martial arts is something of you know, wonderful substance with a great amount of philosophy and spiritual essence.
Now, keep in mind, this is one of his first interviews. If not his very first interview. I don't know if there's a date here. This would have been around 89-ish. 89... Yeah, somewhere around 89, 90. And one of his first interviews ever. And he's coming off this cerebral, eloquent, insightful, philosophical. How many leading men in action movies are going to say that martial arts movies are disgusting? I mean, this is a true spiritual master here who seems to have really taken offense at the way martial arts had been portrayed in just this violent fashion. And what's interesting is he's kind of the king of violence. I mean, I would say him and Tony Jaa probably have the most brutal fight scenes ever. And Tony Jaa, as good as he is, he's more in the acrobatic flair, although the blunt force trauma with the knees and elbows it's pronounced. But in terms of just the joint destruction, I mean, Steven Seagal is king of this violence. But the way he approaches this topic philosophically, it's just so interesting. At his introspections regarding the genre itself and all of film.
Not something to be exploited. And I think that never yet has anybody really portrayed the martial arts properly in film. You know, Kurosawa has with Redbeard, Seventh Samurai, Yojimbo. Those are all great martial arts films, but they're people stories. They're stories about people and the human dilemma, you know?
Well, give me the Cliff Notes version or the short version of this, What's Above the Law is about here. Give me the plot line.
Well, you know what it's about. It's about the CIA's involvement with narcotics trafficking for the purpose of funding covert operations. Starts out in Vietnam with Nico being involved in an interrogation which he thinks is over military intelligence. He's surprised to find out that this is really over the location of large quantities of missing opium, and he then starts to discover that there's a major narcotics network over there that's funding all of the covert operations. He becomes disillusioned and he quits. Comes back to the United States, to his own hometown, and just decides to become a cop. In the process of being a cop, he gets involved with what he thinks is a routine coke bust. He climbs the ladder and comes across the same people that he knew in Vietnam trafficking the opium and heroin are now involved in South and Central America with the cocaine. And they don't want him around because they know that he knows, and they decide that they're going to have to try to terminate him, and they don't get away with it.
Now, the controversial, the frightening part of this movie is that it could very well have some truth involved with the CIA supposedly has used covert operations with drugs to raise money for their operations. That's true?
Well, I mean, you know, it's been in the news an awful lot with Noriega, and I think with Ollie North and the Iran-Contra hearings. You know, I think that a lot of that was about, cocaine funding the Contras, even though that didn't come up in the hearings. I was saying earlier, some people stood up with a sign and said, ask him about the cocaine money. Naturally, they didn't, but that was the most important thing, which was an outrage that they didn't. It's the same thing with Noriega. People are saying he's been on the CIA payroll for 20 years. Well, figure it out. If he's been on the CIA payroll, who put him there, and who's he been working for?
Well, believability, I think, really is the key to this movie, and that's why I liked it so much. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Now, I've got all kinds of things written down. You went to Japan at a relatively early age, but you're from the Midwest?
Detroit, yeah.
What's the story about going to Japan when you were small?
Well, I'd been interested in the martial arts from childhood. I'd seen the martial arts demonstrated when I was young, and I always had a dream to be able to go over to the Far East and study. And by the time I was 17, 18, I just went over there and ended up staying.
Who wants another exclusive receipt? I've tracked down images of Seagal when he first started Aikido in Japan, and he's not a master. For the first time ever on any podcast or documentary, I will present receipts that Steven Seagal was not always an absolute master. So even though his current pedigree is second to none, with 2 7th dans in Aikido and Kyokushin, as well as black belts in Kendo, Judo, and Kenjutsu, as well as countless other martial arts studied, although there's no official ranking, these images that I am about to put up are Steven Seagal when he was not a master. Actually, before I forget, did we talk about Seagal being a Serbian citizen? So he's actually a tri-citizen. He's a U.S. citizen, a Russian citizen, and also a Serbian citizen as of 2016. January 11th, 2016. So, yeah, I don't know if we talked about this tri-citizen of the world and ambassador as well. Okay, so let me get these images up. YouTube getting funky here, as is always the case when we're discussing very important matters. Wow, this is so weird. Alright, hold on a second. Okay, here we go. This is one of the only images you will ever see of a non-master Steven Seagal. Brace yourselves, people. Steven Seagal was once a mere mortal. Steven Seagal was once an average-looking American kid. Here is Steven Seagal, one of his first times in the dojo. I mean, look at that poor posture. This is Steven Seagal learning Aikido in Japan before he became a master. Look at that American posture there. Look at that American posture. As far as I know, these photos have never been shown on any Steven Seagal podcast or documentary of any kind. And this looks to be from approximately the same time period of these masters correcting Seagal's posture here. Like, this guy's definitely an American. And now, look, I have another image here showcasing Steven Seagal. It does not appear that this is taken too much, that too much time had passed since then. But here is Seagal, very similar hair here, and it looks like his posture is mostly corrected now after a very brief lesson. I mean, he looks pretty young there too. Hair maybe looks about the same. He's got some kind of weird Italian fro going on. But this is Seagal, some of the only images available of Steven Seagal before he became a master. Exclusive, only on MINDSHOCK.
And you became really involved with martial arts more than just a passing interest.
Oh yeah, I became the first non-Oriental to teach over there in the history of Japan. I taught over there for a long time.
How was that? How did that happen, though? I would think the culture would be so against an outsider doing that, unless they just really respected you, which I guess they did.
Well, you know, I mean, I used to use the term white boy, which is, not a very good term. I mean, for a non-Oriental to teach them their arts, sure. I mean, that was an outrage to them, and they can be very xenophobic and ethnocentric people. But at the same time, the nice thing about it was that after a couple of years of them trying to, or some of them trying to disgrace me or discredit me or beat me in one way or another, by the time I had, withstood all that, they came around to respect me a great deal, I think, most of them anyway.
Do you still almost daily practice your craft?
Yeah, I mean, on this tour I haven't had time to do anything, but yeah.
Is it something you have to keep up, like anything else?
Absolutely, absolutely.
The mental part as well as the physical part?
Absolutely.
You were a bodyguard, a security specialist a little bit. Give me what exactly would you describe a security specialist as being for someone?
I think it could be many, many things, from planning field operations to somebody who goes out into the field, carries a gun, and stands in front of people. But for me, the more interesting part was to get together with my team and do the planning of the operations, and all of the different procedures involved in creating a safe entrance and exit of a principal or whatever,
Did you get involved with that while you were in Japan?
Absolutely.
Were you drafted by an agency or someone that wanted to take advantage of your fact that you were an American and a martial artist and someone who may have known the country?
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that. So that makes, again, this movie is all the more reason to say it's believable.
Absolutely.
You have a lot of facts in here.
I'd say it's a very believable film.
What would people at, say, the agency, if they saw this film, what would they think about it?
You're talking about the CIA?
Or any of the security agencies right now? Would they look at it and say, well, that's pretty good? Or would they be mad?
Boy, that's a good question. I think some people are going to be very mad, and some of the agents are going to say, hey, right on, yeah, good job.
Is that mainly because of the speech about above the law?
No, I don't think so. I think that there are some speeches in this film that say things that I've never seen said in film that I think will piss the people off that are very, very high up.
I mean, how many first-time actors are blatantly saying this? This is kind of crazy. For a Hollywood actor to be pissing off top ranks in the CIA. I mean, most actors are just, they kowtow, they're on the leash. Operation Mockingbird, the CIA's infiltration of Hollywood. Meanwhile, Seagal, in his first outing as a lead actor, is already sticking it to the man. I'll play the clip of what he's talking about here from the movie.
$4,000 acres in Costa Rica. Beautiful place.
Beautiful place, huh? And tell me, was that bought with opium money from the Triangle?
And a ton of coke a week from other places.
She funnels here through Salvano. Company getting its cut, of course.
Legal tender.
Yeah. So war is still the greatest business, huh, Nelson? I mean, these guys have started and financed every war we've ever fought. But you know something? Nobody would ever believe me if I told them. They're bankers from the CIA.
Oh, come on, Toscani, don't preach to me.
So the senator couldn't be bought, could he? He was going to expose your plans to invade Nicaragua with your fucking coke money. So the agency clears Seagal to camp his ass, right?
Just keep walking, asshole.
So tell me something, old buddy. Do we kill our own senators now?
Why not? The Romans did.
Are we the fucking Romans?
So there it is, Steven Seagal saying on film in a major theatrical release that bankers run the CIA and they've financed every war the U.S. has ever fought. I mean, that's pretty incredible stuff from the one and only Steven Seagal. I mean, does this man know no fear?
But I think, your average field agents and case people are going to, well, most of those guys are going to be entertained by it and think it was fun to watch.
People in this country, we have a Central Intelligence Agency. I think we all have an idea what the FBI guys are like, and even Secret Service people, and some of the Treasury folks, and that kind of thing. But the CIA still is a very unknown, kind of a dark agency, to say the least. In your experience, if you're assuming that you have met a lot of these people overseas, are they like regular guys, like anybody else, or they're just someone who is? Are they patriots?
Well, it used to be, when I was first in Japan, most of the guys that I knew in the CIA were all World War II veterans, and they were all officers. And officers, for me, were sort of men of a different cloth. A good officer was really, somebody who was well trained, well disciplined, and knew how to carry himself in the field.
All right, so what's the first thing that jumps out here? First of all, so again, he never says he's in the CIA himself. He said the people I knew that were in the CIA. So here he's admitting on the record that he knows multiple individuals in the CIA. Notice how there was no pause, no stuttering or sputtering. He just immediately gives a direct answer and explains the people. World War II vets, officers, etc. Like, there's no nervousness, there's no twitching, there's no signs of deception here. Now, again, that doesn't mean he was directly in the CIA, if he's even claiming that. I mean, we'll see exactly what he claims where, but right off the bat here, there's no deception in him saying he knew people in the CIA while he was in Japan. And I mentioned this in the first episodes as well. If you're the CIA and you're looking to recruit operatives, let's say they're in Japan, wouldn't you want an American citizen, a native English speaker who's well respected locally? I mean, this guy's a martial arts master. I mean, it seems like Seagal would have a lot to offer as a CIA operative. So not that he is, not that that happened, but if you were the CIA, this is something coincidence theorists have a lot of trouble with. If the CIA were to be looking to recruit individuals, I mean, Seagal kind of looks like a prime target for recruitment in Japan. Fluent in English, fluent in Japanese, martial arts master, dialed into the local community to a certain level. I mean, he's kind of a prime target to be a CIA operative or to be contracted in some capacity. So that's something the coincidence theorists and the Seagal haters, I mean, I don't know if they could cope with that. That maybe the mental capacity is just not there.
And the guys that I knew were very intelligent, very patriotic, hardworking, articulate, talented people that could get out in the field. Nobody would know who they were, and they could do their job. And they were ethical people, good people, most of the guys that I knew then. You're Jimmy Carter. When Jimmy Carter came in to power as president, there was a point where a bunch of case officers were pulled out of the field, and all of a sudden, after that point, the CIA seemed to really change, and some of the guys that were coming into the Far East after that seemed very, very different to me. They were, I don't know if they were, recruited at West Point or what, but there's two different kinds of CIA agents, I mean, actually, there are several different kinds, but one kind is a kind of person who, you drop them into any country, anywhere, and they'll be able to adapt and get along and survive. And there's another kind, who might be a West Point graduate and might be brilliant at certain things, but you can drop him into Paris and he couldn't buy a banana.
Slight lag there, but yeah, so Seagal, look at how, the knowledge that's just rolling off his tongue. How does he know this? Look how natural and quick he just explains the different types of agents. How does he know this? If he's riffing, if he's lying and making this all up, I mean, has he just, what is the Seagal hater position here? He's just very well read, because that's pretty accurate, right? And furthermore, we actually had someone in the chat who said that Steven Seagal actually spoke at West Point. He was some kind of speaker at an event or a graduation or something of that nature. Now, here, years earlier, I mean, not obviously that would have been much later after this interview, but he's already talking about West Point. So clearly he's very knowledgeable on the CIA, regardless of whether or not he was officially part of it.
You know what I mean? So I kind of felt that after Jimmy Carter, the kind of CIA agents that I started to come to know were real different. You know, not. And this is just my personal observation. I seem to miss the ethics, you know, I mean, when I say patriotic, you know, we all, not all of us, but most of us love our country, and that's why we're doing what we think we can to make the country a better place. You know, some of the old guys, you know, they did become disillusioned, and in fact, most of the guys I know did, but even so, they didn't try to do anything to hurt anybody, you know, and they were very ethical, is what I'm really trying to say. And a lot of the younger guys that I noticed coming in, they didn't seem to really have the same kind of ethics anymore. They were sort of a different breed, you know, young, brash, no talent. A lot of them just, you know, really awkward in their, you know, the way they were moving around, a little bit like a bull in a china shop sometimes.
You know what else is interesting? Has anybody else made these kinds of observations? Because as a master of Aikido, I mean, this guy, not just his coordination for himself, but just his observation ability and watching people move. That it's just really interesting on what he's explaining here with the younger, newer agents versus the older agents. And again, seemingly he's had all this contact with CIA agents. So that's curious. Or at least claiming that. Welcome, Justin Johnson and Heracles in the chat here, and Flat Bob. So we are discussing Steven Seagal and the CIA, but his observations are very interesting here. Now, keep in mind, this is 1989 or 1990. So I believe it's 89. Or even, actually, it possibly could be 88. Above the Law was released in 88. And this is right around the time of release. So this actually could be 1988. Let me get the exact release date. So the premiere was April 8th, 88. Wide release April 22nd, 88. So Jimmy Carter is saying he likes this movie. So we're assuming either he saw the April 8th limited release for the premiere or April 22nd. So this would be the second half, somewhere around the second half of 88, or moving into the middle of 88. And so it is kind of curious because back then, I mean, a lot wasn't even known about the CIA back then. This is adopted, wide adoption internet. I mean, this is pre-everything. So for Seagal seems to know quite a lot about CIA and CIA operatives. I mean, it's just kind of curious, and his observations here. It's just really curious.
That was just my limited experience with a few of the guys I know.
Let's assume, and I really feel confident this is going to be a very successful movie. What do you see as a second story? You're going to write it and go through the whole routine again, or?
I wrote something I've been working on for a couple of years now that I'd like to do next that we didn't quite finish writing, and there's now a writer's strike. As soon as that's over, we'll just polish it off and turn it in. It's something that I'm real excited about that I'll probably do with Warner's next. I have a deal with Warner's on it, and it's a real exciting story.
And some people have said that, Warner Brothers likes you because they want you to be the next, because Charles Bronson and Clint Eastwood are getting a little old, and they want you to be the next Charles Bronson and Clint Eastwood. That's not a bad group of guys to follow, is it?
Well, I've been a Clint Eastwood fan because I think that he's kind of got this, wonderful way of, acting without acting. I'm a little bit, it puts me in a bad spot to be compared to Clint because, he's a legend in his own time, and I'm sort of a, pissant, trying to come up the ladder here. But
I mean, just look at the humility of Steven Seagal. Like, all these goofs are saying that he's egotistical and narcissistic. I mean, how many actors are calling themselves a pissant? I mean, just the non-hubris of Seagal is something to behold, particularly in Hollywood, where everybody's kind of a narcissistic, egotistical maniac. Lord Zed saying, my dad didn't like the singing. Are you talking about Seagal singing? That's blasphemy. That's complete blasphemy.
I really, at this point in time, am hoping that I can go beyond being compared to people like that, and that people will say, Steven Seagal, he has his own, way of talking and looking, and that I'm going to get my own niche in there and be, unique.
Well, you certainly are. I wasn't implying that you weren't. I'm just saying that there are some shoes to be filled out there, and I hope you're one of the guys that does it.
Well, that's very nice of
All
you
right,
to
well,
say.
thank you a lot. Really enjoyed your movie.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
All right.
Timing is impeccable. Why don't y'all continue to talk just for a second?
All right, you give me a little watch.
Over the shoulder lunch out here. Because we're down to about.
Hey, Colette, do you know any dirty jokes? Because I wondered if you could say something to, make us laugh over.
All I know is Jimmy Swaggart material, and that's all.
Ooh,
right
I'd
now.
love to hear some Jimmy Swagger material. We've been on the road since that happened, so we haven't heard
Well, let's
anything.
see. He's got a movie coming out. Let's see. Was it Children of a Looser God? And he's doing all his publicity for Repent House magazine.
Repent House?
Repent House.
Oh, these are great.
I was trying to remember all of them. There's just so many. He and Jim Becker wrote a book. What was the name of it? Yeah, Preachers Do More Than Lay People. That was the name of the book.
Oh, my God.
I mean, this raw footage is so hilarious. Amphibious J asked in the chat, what would you call his haircut? I believe that's a classic horseshoe mullet. I believe that's a horseshoe mullet. Although it's not a true horseshoe because he's still got some hair on the top. It's a fading horseshoe mullet. Lord Zed says, he's still damaged from when Clint Eastwood did a musical. I think it really tore him up mentally ever since he's been horrified to see action guys saying, I am not aware of a Clint Eastwood musical. That's pretty crazy. But can you imagine Seagal doing a musical? Wow. Yeah, I mean, Seagal, I think everybody knows that Seagal had some work done on his hairline.
And we know what he was doing in the room with this woman. He was asking her for money. Is what the thing was. There's so many of these Jimmy Swaggart things. Yeah.
I was thinking, Saturday Night Live could have a ball with that.
Billy Crystal had one of the best lines, I thought, at all in the Grammys.
And the Grammys.
I thought that was one of the funniest lines that anybody had said. He said that, Jimmy Swaggart would have been here tonight, and really sorry he couldn't come, but he'd rather just stay home and watch. So that was enjoyable.
The voyeurism.
That's pretty kinky stuff. That's pretty
Yeah.
kinky. But Jim Baker was pretty kinky.
Well, the way I look at it, man, it's kind of like...
Now, when we last met 4 years ago in Atlanta, you had a political prognostication for me. You swore me that President Bush, or he wasn't president at the time.
A political prognostication. So this would be around 92 for Under Siege. I believe I have some raw footage from this one as well. Let me switch over to the raw version. Should be interesting here. But Seagal supposedly, seemingly, having some kind of inside line on certain things. So this is the raw footage from this 92 interview here.
I've got some folks who run theaters in Houston that I'm going to go see this afternoon because I'm in Nashville, but I'm going down there. They said we've got to have Steven's picture for the wall, so I went through there.
Jeff, you got anything to eat for me?
He's hungry.
You prick.
He's hungry.
Huh?
Picture for the wall, so I went through there.
Jeff, you got anything to eat for me?
He's hungry.
You prick.
Picture for the wall, so I went through there.
Jeff, you got anything to eat for me?
He's hungry.
You prick.
He's hungry.
Huh? What do you got?
Paul? I thought he was.
I'll get you something right now if you want to.
Yeah, give me something right now. Give me a shake or some apple or something, anything, whatever.
Do you want to? Do you want to?
No, we'll go.
Okay. I'm from Alabama. I used to go down there and play around with a kid on that battleship. All close-ups, all twos. Take a break.
Straight on, Steve. Here we go then. 3, 2, 1. We have speed check.
Now, when we last met 4 years ago in Atlanta, you had a political prognostication for me. You swore me that President Bush, or he wasn't president at the time, he would be president. You were sure of it, and it came true. All right, this week in David Brinkley, we have Steven Seagal here.
Stop it.
Who are you going to predict? I mean, what's happening this time? Is he going to win or not? It's close.
This is a real tough one. I mean, I back then wasn't really thinking about, you know, or who would be best for president or anything like that, just as much as I felt I had a fairly good idea of the powers that be and how they were going to move around. And in normal circumstances, I think that the same thing would apply at this stage of the game. George Bush will be put in again. But circumstances have become extremely abnormal now, and it's very tricky at the moment.
You know, the world's a little different place than it was 4 years ago in many ways, and that really affects Hollywood. It's hard to find bad guys these days, isn't it?
Well,
I mean, there's certainly a lot of them around.
All you have
but
to
it's
do
not
is
your common guys.
turn on the TV.
But when you're in charge, you know, you can't go back to the Russians necessarily anymore, and it's a little bit harder to find bad guys.
That's right.
Didn't have any trouble in this movie, though.
Yeah.
They're always crazy people.
Yeah, you can always think something up.
Do you have fun doing this one? Let me tell you where it ranks. I love Above the Law. I think it's a great movie, and I think it stands up today as well as it did then.
Thank you.
This is my second favorite one behind that of the ones that you've done. Do you feel that way?
I sort of agree with you. Above the Law would still
Because
be
this
my
goes
favorite.
back to having fun again, and it's believable. The production values are great, and I think you ought to be pretty high on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm real pleased with this movie. It's a lot of fun, and people, you know, in these troubled times want to just get out there and have some simple fun. And I feel grateful to God that I've been able to, you know, have anything to do with other people's pleasure and, you know, taking their mind off the tough times and giving them a little bit of happiness and all that stuff. But I would have to say I agree with you. I still think Above the Law is my favorite.
You know, this is escapist entertainment, and I personally go to these type of films to relax. I mean, it's hard to say that this kind of sounds crazy, actually, but I've always gone to action adventure to relax. Dirty Harry, Above the Law, Live and Die in L.A., those kind of films. Do you go to film at all to relax or to escape?
Absolutely. You know, and I love film, so I love to go watch movies.
What do you watch with Kelly at home? Can she watch does she like violent films?
Yeah, sure. She regardless of what she says, sure, she'll watch anything. And the difference between Kelly and I is I walk out on the bad stuff. She usually stays to the bitter end.
Now, I know that you've talked about some, and I understand the pressures of that you want to try to do maybe something else, jump out of the genre a little bit. Eastwood did the same thing.
That's right.
He got tired of doing little westerns. We don't want you to, as a fan, and you understand that too.
Sure.
So how do you balance that? Doing what we want you to do and doing what you want you to do?
I think it has to be a slow, gradual process where you sort of mix the different milieus. Right now, for example, I'm directing a big mafia epic called A Man of Honor, and I think that's a dramatic piece, but I also think that it'll be interesting enough with enough action that people will watch it. You know?
So what he just dropped there was Man of Honor, which was a canceled Steven Seagal film, but they were already shooting it. It would be incredible to get actual footage of Man of Honor. But this was Seagal's mafia epic, no doubt. Would have probably been better than The Godfather, Goodfellas, Casino, all put together with Steven Seagal at the helm. But unfortunately, the powers that be wanted to shut it down. They were too threatened by the cinematic greatness that is Steven Seagal, writer, director, actor. Who could handle a mafia epic like this? I mean, it would have put all of Hollywood to shame that they had to shut it down. Now, there's not even that much information on it. I will share what there is. And again, I don't believe anybody has ever even discussed this on any podcast or documentary. But Man of Honor was a canceled Steven Seagal production. So Variety had a write-up here. So this is November 15th, 1992. Fox nixes Seagal-helmed Honor. An austerity-minded 20th century Fox may be throwing out Steven Seagal with the bathwater. According to his attorney, Buddy Monash, Fox has passed on Seagal's putative directorial debut, Man of Honor. The Godfather-style drama had a troubled development history at Fox. Several weeks ago, after former studio topper Joe Roth balked at the film's $30 million budget, Morgan Creek Productions was stated to come in for a third of the cost in return for overseas rights. When Morgan Creek pulled out last week, Fox 86'd the pick. Bone of contention is that Seagal reportedly had to pay personnel attached to the project out of his own pocket to the tune of $1 million plus. Man of Honor may now be in limbo as Seagal turns to Warner's ecological action film Rainbow Warrior. I believe that is what was turned into On Deadly Ground. Also with an eye toward directing. So, yeah, that's just very, very curious. I think we went over this too. Seagal, so this is on Seagal's canceled or whatever original versions that didn't happen with Seagal films. Steven Seagal was purportedly going to play Bruce Wayne in 1989's Batman before Michael Keaton got the nod. But supposedly it was gonna be Steven Seagal. Can you imagine? The world was robbed so many times. I mean, look at him. He kind of looks like Bruce Wayne anyway. Steven Seagal as Batman. Seagal was also supposed to be in Predator 2 before Danny Glover replaced him. And he was also considered for the lead in The Last Boy Scout, the Bruce Willis movie. Now, you're going to like this, Lord Zed. So, in the 1991 Born to Ride movie with John Stamos, Seagal was actually originally considered for the lead. And then John Stamos ended up playing the lead in Born to Ride 91. Seagal was also being considered in Showdown in Little Tokyo alongside Brandon Lee before Dolph Lundgren got that role. And Seagal was also supposedly going to be Passenger 57 instead of Wesley Snipes and also 1992's Free Jack before Emilio Estevez got the lead. And he was also being considered for Rapid Fire, Brandon Lee's breakout role. And I think people already knew this, but Demolition Man 1993 was originally supposed to be Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme. And then it ended up being Stallone and Wesley Snipes. Do people not? I mean, I think people kind of knew that. Seagal was also possibly going to be in Boiling Point 1993 before Wesley Snipes got that one, and also The Specialist 94. But Stallone got it instead. So say what you will about Seagal, but he basically said that he wanted the sex scenes toned down with Sharon Stone. For the people that say he's a sleazy scumbag, that's kind of interesting. He was also supposed to be in Drop Zone. I mean, it's kind of crazy how many roles Wesley Snipes ended up playing that were originally Seagal. And Seagal was also going to play opposite Antonio Banderas in Assassins 95. And he was also considered for Crying Freeman in 95 before DeCascos got the role. And The Hunted 95 before Christopher Lambert got that. Also, supposedly Under Siege 3 was going to happen in 1996. It was titled Pandora. A giant defense plant which had been taken over by terrorists who wanted to steal secret computer warfare system called Pandora. And it is up to the former head of security, Steven Seagal, and a temporary secretary to save the day. It is unknown why it was canceled, but Seagal ended up doing Fire Down Below. Seagal was also considered for Soldier 1998 before Kurt Russell got it. I mean, wow. That's a lot of movies. So the storyline for Man of Honor is that the son of a mafia don, to be played by Seagal, doesn't want to follow in his father's footsteps and instead becomes a bodyguard for a beautiful female informant. Interesting. He was also supposed to be in a movie with Donnie Yen. A Yakuza movie. And then they reworked a bunch of it. And Donnie Yen was not in it. So that's curious. Oh, actually, Seagal was also supposed to be in The Order 2001, which Jean-Claude Van Damme ended up doing that one. So a lot of interesting curiosities here reported, but that's pretty much all there is on Man of Honor. Supposedly they filmed for a few weeks, so there is footage. But yeah, a lot of first-time Seagal trivia here. Lord Zed says, Under Siege 3 could still be happening. Subs up in news recently. I don't think so, because Under Siege 3 is supposed to be happening for like the past 20 years. It's always been in the news the past 20 years. And it just never ends up happening. I mean, he's too old now. I mean, I know that's blasphemous, but... I mean, as far back as Expendables, he actually, supposedly Under Siege 3 was in the works at the same time as Expendables, and that was one of the reasons he didn't do the Expendables movies. But, I mean, it's always kind of been in the, in the pipeline, but it was never, I don't believe a script was ever greenlit, or it actually was gonna go into production. I mean, I guess you'd say it's in talks, and it's always been in talks since the second one. But I didn't see anything where it was actually verified as moving forward. I mean, the latest news was, here's an article from 2014. Steven Seagal is planning and writing a third Under Siege movie. I mean, that's all the way back in 2014. So, Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything super recent unless you have some kind of link. I mean, it's always in the maybe category. There's an article. Let's see another article here. Oh, no date on this one. In 2021, there was an Under Siege reboot being discussed. I don't know if that ever moved forward. They had director talent attached. But yeah, I mean, I don't see anything greenlit. Yeah, but it looks like in 2014 and 2016 there was some definitive plans for Under Siege 3, but I guess they never materialized. You know, it'd be interesting, a Titanic reboot with Seagal in the lead, playing the role of Jack. All right, well, let's continue here. Let's continue.
And enjoy it. And this is the same with Under Siege. Under Siege is not, a cop in the street or me in the street. I mean, I'm on one location and it's out at sea. But at the same time, as different as it is from the other things I've done, I still think it provides a certain kind of entertainment that people are going to enjoy.
How's your life changed since 1988 when you were working very hard to get a little motion picture promoted and to be a hit? How have you really changed, and how's your life changed?
Well, I don't think I've changed very much. The zeros on the end of my paychecks are different. The zeros on the end of my bills are different. But life is fairly much the same. I've had, I would have to say the biggest change in my life is I have no ability to have any privacy now. We're bombarded with people trying to, get involved in our life in one way or another, and it's almost impossible to have any privacy. And we really strive to, get away and go up to our remote ranches and just ride horses and relax and work.
Don't you miss being out with the people, though, able to hang out and do the things you used to do?
Yeah, it's a real shame that you just can't do that anymore. You just can't pick up and go out to dinner.
You wear ball caps and let yourself go a little bit and look like not a star when you go out sometimes?
Yeah, all the
work?
time. Well, interestingly enough, you wear hats, you wear glasses, you wear mustaches. Somehow they still recognize you. I don't know how. It's a funny thing.
Well, I guess nothing to do about that, though. I mean, you wanted it, so you got it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
What are you going to be doing 10 years from now? You have any idea what Hollywood's going to do to you, what you're going to do to Hollywood in the next 10 years?
Hopefully in 10 years I'll be retired from this aspect of working and maybe just doing some writing. And
why is that? I don't want you to retire. We have damn few heroes up there on the screen, really, anyway. And
Well,
they're all going to quit. Eastwood wants to retire. You're not old enough to retire.
That's
You can't
nice
do
of you
that.
to say. Nice
But you don't
of
think
you
you
to
can go out there and do this physical stuff on screen, really, 10 years
sure,
from now?
Sure I could. I
Well,
could
then
do
why
this
not?
physical stuff for another
Well, then
30
why
years.
not? Because it's not...
I just, wanted to be able to get involved with helping the world, helping the ecology, the ecological state of things, and dedicating my life to helping people a little bit more. And I guess maybe I can do that through film also.
Yeah, you do help. It entertains and it makes us happy, and that's hard to do sometimes these days. Thank
That's
you.
certainly something I'll concentrate on also.
And you do. Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad you listened to me. Thanks. All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
So, yeah, very interesting interviews there. So let me play the leaked audio. Somebody recorded Steven Seagal talking about the CIA. So here's this smoking gun. I think I played it in the early episodes, but I'll play it again.
A lot of my mentors have been asking me, if I would like to write a book, and You know, I would say that Michael Ovitz is a great friend and a very special mentor of mine. It's a real sensitive subject with me because there's so much that I would be real uncomfortable to get into. You can say that I've worked with people who were in the CIA, and because there's so much that I would be real uncomfortable to get into. You can say that I've worked with people who were in the CIA and worked for the CIA. I don't ever talk about what I've done, but a couple people have an idea. I'll talk to friends and I'll say, yeah, and then we got ambushed here, and there were this many shots fired, and I did this, and I did that, and I flanked. They remember every fucking move, you know? Stuff. I just go on automatic pilot, and I just react to everything that's happening. And afterwards I have a fairly clear recollection, but it's not, you know, very exact.
That's pretty much the closest he's come to claiming that he worked with people who worked with the CIA. That's what he said. Let's listen to one more interview here from Arsenio Hall.
Macy's. Okay. Since above the law, you've seen this man marked for death, out for justice, and very hard to kill. Latest movie is Under Siege. Give it up for Steven Seagal! You know how you know when somebody's a big star? Even Encino Man stood. Anyway. Is your ponytail shorter?
I cut it off. I lost it for this movie, and tonight tried to sort of, you know, grab and regroup a little bit.
Yeah, no, you went to Supercuts and
Yeah.
I always thought that if I had a ponytail and cut it off, I would save it. Did you save yours?
You heard the story.
No, you saved it.
I saved it until somebody appropriated it.
Oh.
I cut that ponytail and hung on to it for about half an hour or so, and as soon as I looked away, it was gone.
Oh, so you saved it, but they stole it?
Somebody stole my ponytail.
That's terrible. Where did you last see it?
Well, I wouldn't want anybody to take this wrong, but it was on the Warner's lot.
Oh. Well, okay. Anyway, how's your wife?
Thank God everybody's good.
That's good. Do you sometimes find yourself hating her because she's beautiful?
Yeah.
How's your neighbor, Michael Jackson?
I haven't seen that young man for a long time.
If there was a fight between you and him, who would win? I'm saying, because he has that one kick like this, and I don't know. What could you do with that?
Well, I'd have to kind of like just sort of find the nearest hole.
Do you ever want to do a movie where there's no martial arts, like A Sensitive Thing, Fried Green Tomatoes, something of that nature?
Love to.
Really?
Love to.
Would they accept it?
Yeah, I think they would.
Have you read anything or seen anything that might be a candidate?
Well, I have a few things that would lend themselves to that kind of a genre, and I'm involved in this big mafia epic called A Man of Honor, which is very dramatic, and
And there it is again, the Man of Honor reference. Just such a shame we never got that mafia epic.
Even under siege, there's not a lot of what you'd call martial arts in it.
Yeah. I was also told that the script wasn't exactly what we're going to see. I mean, when you first got it, it wasn't quite like this.
No, we had to do a lot of work on it. I did a big rewrite and had a few of my friends come in from the different agencies and brainstorm with me, and I think we fixed it up a little bit.
So what did I...
He had a few friends come in from different agencies. Like, how does he have all these friends in all these different government agencies? I mean, that's kind of curious. That's kind of curious.
Actually about?
Well, I mean, it's about the USS Missouri, and as many of you may know, she was recently decommissioned, and as she was being decommissioned, she had to head into a certain area to offload her nuclear facilities, and in our screenplay, they went to a stand-down crew before they offloaded, and one of the intelligence agents that had recently gotten real pissed off at Uncle Sam decided that he was going to try to liberate those missiles and sell them to somebody, and I'm just a cook on board with a past.
Yeah, and who else is in this?
Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Busey.
You know, Gary Busey might have stole your ponytail. He steals. He was here once.
I mean, I've heard a lot of things about that guy. There were two other actors in the picture, Andy Romano and Nick Mancuso, that were in the Pentagon that I thought were just made the movie for me.
Yeah.
Really good.
We have a clip. Would you like to show them the clip?
Sure.
Now, is there a lot of violence and fighting in this?
Very little.
Oh.
I won't disappoint you guys. Come on.
Okay, let's look at it.
Behold my finest work.
You think all of your ridiculous, pitiful antics, we served the same master. You and I were the same.
We'll be back with the coolest Caucasian on the planet, Steven Seagal. Oh, let's see. Okay, that's enough.
That's enough screaming.
Hey, you forgot. Men are afraid of you. Women are not.
I noticed. What did he keep raising their hands for?
Huh? Hey, it's a new thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
This is nautical flags. It's my name in nautical flags.
Everyone should have one.
That's right.
Your name in nautical flags. I was watching you there, and since we didn't see martial arts, I started thinking about acting. How would you rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 as an actor, 10 being best?
2.
Oh, stop, Steven.
2.5.
Stop.
So again, the goofs that hallucinate that he's just this ego-obsessed narcissist. I mean, he rates himself as a 2 out of 10 acting-wise, and this is years in now. I mean, he's this major A-lister now. This isn't back for, you know, Above the Law, or even Out for Justice. I mean, this is now Under Siege, major blockbuster. He's fully on the A-list now, and he's rating himself a 2 out of 10.
Up.
2 3/4.
8 10s. I hear them all over. I hear. Oh. 13s are coming from up there.
Surely you flatter me.
I want to ask you about a couple serious issues. I know you're involved in a lot of things, and some things you aren't involved in. Politics. What do you think about the situation we're in right now?
You'd have to get a little more specific from me.
Are you going to vote?
No.
Okay, let's see. You know, You have some interesting viewpoints also about the AIDS crisis. Can we talk about that stuff on the air?
A little bit.
So we've gone over Seagal's exposés on CIA drug trafficking, interdimensional yetis. Now he's about to go in 1992, his views on AIDS on national television.
Okay. And when he says a little bit, he means a little bit. And I won't be asking nothing beyond that. No, talk to them.
What would you like to know?
No, you have unique opinions on where it's come from and where it hasn't come from.
I don't think that any respectable virologist or great doctor thinks that AIDS came from the green monkey. I think that is the greatest farce of our time, that anybody ever told us that. I don't see how, 90% of the first people that were infected were black heterosexuals in Africa and white homosexuals in America. What do they have to do with each other? How do you put that together? Figure that one out, you know? And so...
What is your theory about where it comes from?
Well, I wouldn't want to get, too verbal about that because it wouldn't be good, but I think it's man-made.
Well, it wouldn't be good in what way?
I think it would not be good for me.
Okay.
But I think it's man-made, you know?
Okay.
And I think that...
You know what else is kind of interesting? An actor voicing a non-establishment position is getting cheered, whereas woke goofs like Kimmel or all these so-called show hosts nowadays, they're all just peddling, the establishment dogma. And but back in the day here, you have an individual here that is going against the so-called official narrative, and is being cheered on in L.A. I mean, that's kind of crazy.
I think that most of the statistics we've been given about AIDS are completely erroneous. I think, I don't know what they're telling us now, that there are 3 million people in America infected or something. I can't remember what they're saying. I think it's more like 20 million people. I think that, and this is just my humble opinion, I think with the nature of the retrovirus, for every one that you know about, there's about 100 you don't know about. That's the way it is. They never tell you that. And I think we've got a very, very serious problem. I think it's a lot more infectious than they're letting on. And it's a very, very difficult, situation.
Okay. I should get back to the movie. There's a young lady in the movie. Smile, man. You're worse than Encino Man. Smile. There's a lady in the movie. Who is she?
Erica Liniak. Not somebody who had a big, illustrious film career, but she did a great reading and a great job in the picture.
Was she a martial artist?
No, nothing like that. She did some television, I understand, and she's just, she really fit the part. See, originally, there was no stripper teaming up with me. That was an idea that I came up with, thinking that it would add a little bit of humor and, fun dilemma to the picture. And so we tried to make that work.
Yeah. Is there an actor that you love to watch?
Many.
Give me a couple.
James Mason was a mentor to me and like a father to me in many ways, and he really brought me into the film business in many aspects. Taught me a lot about writing and acting, or what I know. Sir John Gielgud is one of my favorite actors. I love to watch him. There's a lot of great actors out there I mean, Andy Romano, who's in this picture, Nick Mancuso. There's a lot of actors out there nobody's ever heard of or just beginning to hear of that are just wonderful, really, really great.
How about of action adventure stars, who's your favorite? If you weren't in the game, who would you go see?
I enjoy watching Clint Eastwood. I enjoy watching some of the Schwarzenegger stuff, the Stallone stuff. I've enjoyed a lot of their work. Primarily, you know, from childhood, I've loved films, and I loved watching Gary Cooper and, you know, people like that. Spencer Tracy. You look at Black Rock, a martial arts film. You look at Manchurian Candidate. You know, you look at 3 Days of the Condor. Bob Redford, another wonderful actor. I mean, there's so many great guys out there. It's a humbling experience just to be here.
Yeah. Do you work out every day? Yeah. Really? Mm-hmm. And what does your workout consist of?
Well, right now it's about 2 hours, and on the treadmill, walking and running, and then doing a regime of weights, and then private lessons, you know, at the martial arts.
Do you still teach?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you teach?
Where?
Yeah.
In my home, or one of my homes, usually. Yeah.
You had to throw that in my face, huh?
No, it's because, like, I never know where I am when you say where, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place.
How does Under Siege stand up to your other films? How does it rate?
I think a lot of people will find it probably a lot more fun than anything that I've done. You know, I like Above the Law still. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But I think they'll find this one to be probably the best ride yet of my work. And thanks to, you know, my supporting cast, I had a lot of great people in the movie, and we all had a lot of fun.
Yeah. You love martial arts and you love doing movies for these people, but you're not a big fan of Hollywood. Is that getting any better for you?
Well, I think, you know, Hollywood is a tough road to hoe for anybody who, you know, is somebody who's interested in spiritualism and holistic medicine and simple country living. You know what I mean? It just doesn't mix.
Yeah. So how do you even deal with this business? Do you think sometimes about just getting out of it because you hate Hollywood so much?
Every day.
Really?
I mean, it's not.
I mean, here we have another curiosity of an A-list Hollywood actor saying he thinks about getting out of Hollywood every day because it doesn't match with the spiritual lifestyle, which is very, very accurate, is it not? Is it not? So let's finish this interview here before we get to the smoking gun receipts here.
Like, I hate Hollywood as much as it's just, I love honor, you know, and I love people who can look me in the eye and tell me the truth. You know, that's real important.
Wow. Well, I wish you luck on the movie. I know you won't need it. I wish I could go to the thing tonight.
You coming tonight?
Okay, I guess. You know, when he says you're coming, you got to go. You got to go. There's a premiere tonight here in Hollywood, and it opens around the country when?
Friday night.
Friday night. You guys gonna check it out? Under Siege, Steven Seagal.
Okay, so who's ready for the bombshell receipts? Now, some of these I've gone over in the first 3 episodes, but I really want to drive the point home here. One second. This is about to get really weird. Okay. Let me just verify this real quick. Okay. We also, just in double checking some receipts here, it looks like Seagal was also a restaurant owner. He was a part owner of the Eclipse restaurant, 8800 Melrose Avenue. And it was pretty popular for a few years until it closed down in August of 97. So Seagal was also a restaurateur. Oh man, the receipts just don't stop coming. I mean, this is crazy. Alright, hold on. I got some big ones. I just want to double check a couple things. Supposedly, Whoopi Goldberg and Joe Pesci were his co-partners of the Eclipse restaurant. You can't make this stuff up. Oh man, wow. Hold on a second. He might have also been part owner at another restaurant. Interesting. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's get to the receipts here. Okay, so this is, I went over this before, and I'll expand on it here. So, CIA guy takes aim at Seagal, New York Post, August 5th, 2003. Look at this receipt here. This is very, very curious. The CIA mystery man who once claimed Steven Seagal asked him about whacking someone may soon be dragged into federal court to help discredit the action star as a witness in a mob trial, the Post learned. Yeah, and let's not forget, I mean, Steven Seagal single-handedly took down the mob in the United States. I mean, they had influence. Seagal testifies. He doesn't even have bodyguards, let alone he doesn't need any witness protection. He just strolls into the courtroom, testifies, takes down the entire mob. I mean, really crazy. South to West says, for a real artist like Seagal, the phoniness of Hollywood must be unbearable. Yeah, it must have been tough. Must have been tough. All right, so let's, let me go through this article here. Herbert F. Saunders, a retired senior intelligence officer. By the way, this guy's identity has been verified. This was a CIA operative. Who worked for Seagal a decade ago as a security consultant. So first of all, Seagal is clearly working with people in the CIA. So however you want to interpret this, Seagal, did he hire this security consultant? He's involved with CIA operatives. Recently came forward to reveal dirty deeds he says the actor wanted him to commit, like gaining access to confidential DEA files he believed were being collected to frame him. Saunders, who only now has revealed his identity, caused a stir a decade ago when he confidentially told Spy Magazine's John Connolly about Seagal's whack idea and a scheme to blackmail a journalist in a gay tryst. Angered over comments Seagal 52 made about him during a February court appearance when the actor testified, reputed wise guy Anthony Sonny Saccone, Saunders decided to reveal his identity to filmmakers working on a documentary about the star. I don't think he's able to sort out fantasy from fact, Saunders told filmmakers. I think he sees himself in the roles he's played in movies, ranging from hard-nosed cop to saving mongooses in the woods of Oregon. Was that wasn't a Seagal movie? Saunders recalls that when he worked for Seagal, the above-the-law star badly wanted a permit to wear a concealed gun and carry a weapon on airplanes. The ponytailed black belt star is a witness in the trial of former producer Julius Nasso, who was accused of trying to squeeze him for $150,000 a movie. After watching the Saunders interview, Nasso's defense believes the decorated former spook should testify in court, saying he should shed light on Seagal's credibility or lack thereof. Does anybody find this ironic? That Seagal's close to these CIA operatives while they're claiming he's not credible. They want to use a CIA operative to claim he's not credible, and not knowing CIA operatives or not working with CIA operatives? Prosecutors say Saunders' allegations have nothing to do with the case and would only embarrass the movie star. Seagal's lawyer, Martin Palmer, agreed, calling the allegations pure and utter nonsense aimed to tarnish Seagal's reputation. Seagal's lawyer, Martin Palmer, agreed. Reached by phone at his Florida home, Saunders said, I'm not anxious to go to court to testify against Seagal. I would prefer to put all this well behind me. When the time comes, I'll do the right thing. Saunders said he met Seagal in 1991 when a mutual acquaintance told him about a celebrity movie star with security concerns. See, that's an interesting line there. What kind of mutual acquaintances would a senior intelligence officer in the CIA and Steven Seagal have? I mean, he doesn't name this acquaintance. Is this acquaintance also another spook who was involved in some kind of CIA capacity with Seagal? We don't know. It was never named. He flew to an estate in Staten Island and met with Seagal and a man he later learned was Nasso. Things got weird from the start. First, the actor suggested the veteran CIA official that he worked for the agency. A ludicrous notion, according to Saunders, who already checked him out and found he'd never worked there. Now, is that what someone would be paid to say? Like, let's say Seagal did work for the CIA, and they didn't want anybody to know to try to make Seagal not credible, especially if the CIA was involved in illegal mob operations with Nasso. they would obviously tell this guy to say that Seagal never worked for the CIA. Now, I was doing some browsing from people, various hackers and such on various forums. I was not able to find a receipt on this. But there are claims that Seagal's name does come up in CIA documents in the 80s and 90s. Now, even if that's true and his name is in the documents, that obviously doesn't mean he worked for the CIA with Operation Mockingbird, etc. That could mean he, maybe there were some kind of missions in Japan or operations in Japan where they were, he was some kind of a contact, or they were trying to get him to do something and he didn't want to do it, or you're just a person of it, whatever. Names show up all the time. There's tons of names. There are more names of non-CIA operatives in CIA files than there are of CIA operatives. So it wouldn't necessarily prove anything anyway, but it was just an interesting claim made online that Steven Seagal's name does come up in CIA documents. But again, Saunders said he checked and he never worked there. Now, obviously, Saunders would not have the most top-level clearances. So, I don't know how. He might be able to do some kind of low-level check, or he did the check, found out that Seagal did work there, and, the orders were to claim that he didn't, and that's what he did here. Because obviously, there's no receipts here. He doesn't provide, a video of him searching the database and Seagal not coming up. So he said he used little words like those of us familiar with the company. We almost never said the company. And that's actually completely false, because CIA operatives always refer to it as the company, because they don't say, oh, yeah, the CIA. We work for the CIA. They always say the company so nobody knows what they're talking about. I mean, now people know. But throughout the decades, they always said the company just in case somebody overheard. They didn't want to say, oh, the CIA. It's just so... I mean, who's this guy trying to fool? Seagal, sitting by the pool in Nassau's luxurious next-door estate, then began complaining about Alan Richman, a journalist who had written an unflattering story about him in GQ magazine. For some reason, Seagal was convinced he was a fag, although Richman later denied it. He said he'd like to give Mr. Richman a bit of payback and then concocted a scheme to photograph him in the backseat of a car in a tryst with another man, Saunders said. After Saunders turned down the assignment, Seagal hit him with an even darker one. Seagal said he was about to open a restaurant in Chicago. According to Saunders, he had a mortal enemy from his days in Southeast Asia, and he was worried the man would assassinate him during the ribbon cutting. Seagal was unimpressed when Saunders suggested a security plan, and according to Saunders, he said, "You mean you wouldn't whack him?" Later, the private eye said Seagal dished out a bizarre assignment to investigate Nassau. From time to time, he would call and ask me to do something, said Saunders, and most of it was kind of crazy. You know what doesn't make any sense? If he's always refusing these basic assignments, does he really want people to believe Seagal would be asking him crazier and or more extreme things if he was denying the basic ones? This guy's story doesn't make any sense. The final straw came about a year after their first meeting when he said Seagal wanted him to gain access to DEA files to learn about the agency's alleged frame job on him. I sort of told him to take a hike. And you know what's crazy? It looks like Seagal was proven right, because look at the Illuminati propaganda campaign against Seagal the past 10 years. Or since 2017, when he blew the whistle on the Illuminati cabal on Piers Morgan in 2017. All of a sudden, everything started getting rolled out there. Okay, let's go to this next exhibit, and this is quite shocking. This is quite shocking. Let's go to Spy Magazine with Hillary Clinton on the cover here. Steven Seagal, Man of Dishonor, a spy special report. $1993. So I'm going to go over the whole article here. Quite curious stuff. Dark 68-year-old businessman and former contract employee Robert Strickland of the CIA is on the set of Marked for Death, starring Steven Seagal. Strickland has known Seagal for more than a decade. So so this is curious. So he's saying, so this CIA operative has known Seagal since 1981, well before Seagal was in Hollywood. See, that's a curiosity. I mean, this is very, very curious stuff. So, and more than a decade. So he said more than a decade. So, Seagal's first credit is well, he was yeah, let's look at as additional. So he was 1982 on The Challenge, and then also 1983 martial arts instructor where he broke Sean Connery's wrist in 83. So this guy's saying he knew Seagal for more than a decade. They were both in Japan, where Seagal worked in his mother-in-law's dojo and Strickland worked for the Spooks. So here, this appears to be verification that Seagal was buddy-buddy with a CIA operative in 1981 and even earlier than that. I mean, this is very, very interesting here. Very interesting. So, even if Seagal never worked for the CIA, apparently we have confirmation here that he's friends with those who did. He's friends with CIA operatives or acquaintances. So, how are these guys, how is he so close with a CIA operative if he has nothing to do with the CIA? Does anybody find this curious? Seagal has been telling the press that he, too, worked for the agency, a claim neither the press nor Strickland has been able to substantiate. So, but that's kind of curious. Why would Seagal say... See, here's the other thing that doesn't make any sense. Why would Seagal claim that if he knew people would dispute, that could easily disprove it, because then he would look like an idiot? I mean, clearly he's not a stupid guy. A lot of people think he's egotistical, narcissistic, whatever, but clearly he's not a stupid guy. We just watched his interviews. I mean, this is one of the smartest actors ever in Hollywood. Very, very insightful. So, okay. But to substantiate, but the certainty adds to the aura of terminal menace the Mike Ovitz protege likes to project, perhaps goes a common Hollywood jest of the time. Seagal has the CIA and CAA, the talent agency Ovitz founded. Strickland is enjoying the ultimate accolade that Hollywood bestows on civilians. He's sitting in the Stars trailer. So, Steven Seagal brings a CIA operative on the set of Marked for Death. A CIA operative that he's known for more than 10 years before his Hollywood days. I mean, this is kind of curious. For a guy that's supposedly not connected to the CIA, he's got a CIA operative hanging out in his trailer. Unmarked for Death. The Star is mouthing off about one Gary Goldman, an ex-mercenary with whom he was collaborating on a screenplay the previous year. So Seagal is friends with CIA operatives. He's friends with mercenaries who he actually, is involved with writing projects. In his other interviews, he said he knows people from multiple agencies that are, helping him with I suppose, the authenticity of certain scripts. So that's kind of curious. And Gary Goldman himself has a bunch of credits, including the technical military advisor on Die Hard. And Die Hard 2, Special Forces advisor. Also technical advisor on Predator and Above the Law. So Gary Goldman is an established operative. So that's pretty interesting. So mean, it's just really interesting that Seagal is friends with these military mercenary operatives and CIA operatives. Like, how did he get so buddy-buddy with these people even before he was in Hollywood? What does everybody think? I mean, we got some major receipts here. I mean, not to mention there's all of these mutual acquaintances that Seagal seems to have with confirmed senior intelligence officers. I mean, does that, so people, like, take somebody who's not claiming to, like, look at any of these other random Hollywood actors. How many of them are just hanging out with CIA operatives? I mean, it's just, coincidence theorists are a curious bunch. So the two had a falling out over money and screenplay credits, and Goldman, in revenge, wrote a letter to the LA Times exposing Seagal's supposed intelligence background as a tissue of exploitative lies. This has made the tough guy very unhappy. You know what's curious, though? You know what's so curious? These people calling Seagal a liar, ironically, they are CIA operatives, mercenaries, and military contractors who admit to knowing Seagal before Hollywood. So how does that work? If he's a fraud, how did he get so close to the... Like, how easy is it to just get close to CIA operatives? I mean, it's just kind of weird, isn't it? Seagal gets... And again, if they're disgruntled over money, they could obviously know that Seagal was... Because if they worked missions with Seagal, and they knew that they were classified and they could never be verified, and then they felt that they were cheated out of money by Seagal, and they know their own background can be verified, even though Seagal couldn't, because he was, he was contracted under a different, contracted under a contractor, and he wasn't an official agency man, which he never claimed to be. He just said he worked with people who worked with the agency. And so if they were disgruntled over money, of course they would lie and say Seagal was a fraud. Whereas if everything was happy, regardless of whether Seagal is legit or not, if everything was fine money-wise, they would have never said that. So anyway, Seagal gets around to the point of the meeting, pulls out a drawer, a confidential profile of Goldman assembled by PIs. Strickland, long aware that Seagal can be hot-headed, finds this something of an overreaction to a squabble over a screenplay, but the dossier is peanuts compared to what happens next. I'd like you to do me a favor, says Mr. Ovitz' fair-headed boy, reaching under the table and pulling out an attaché case. I'd like you to kill Gary Goldman. He opens the case. It contains $50,000 in cash. All the stunned Strickland can say is, "You're crazy." The actor merely looks frustrated. "If you won't do it," Strickland recalls him saying, "get someone who will, pay him what you want, and keep the rest." Late 1990. The set of Out for Justice, same principles, Seagal and Strickland. You know what else doesn't make any sense? So, if this is all going down, Strickland, this CIA employee, is still friends with Seagal after all this. It kind of sounds like they're really buddies from CIA operations, and he wouldn't just abandon his friend over that, because why else would he be so close to Seagal? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Flapop says, just having friendships with CIA agents and operatives and mercenaries doesn't mean that he himself is involved with them. True. And if he only became friends with them post-Hollywood, once he had fame and connections and all that, that wouldn't mean anything at all. But these are CIA operatives who are saying that they've known Seagal since before his Hollywood days, way back in Japan. So, and Seagal is confirmed to have worked security. So Seagal did work in security, and he was actually a bodyguard for Kelly LeBrock, who he ended up marrying. So Seagal is confirmed to have worked security details. Also, one of the Tibetan, there was also, I forget who it was, there was a Tibetan, in Tibet, he also worked some kind of security. So a certain amount of his security, not for the CIA, but non-CIA security, he's confirmed to have worked. Now, those are also jobs that confirmed CIA operatives usually work, and mercenaries. They often work in security. So again, it doesn't prove, there's no concrete proof he was an official CIA employee, and he never claims to be. He said he worked with people who worked for the CIA. And he also did security in Japan. There were some people who also verified that. So now, obviously, working security, just private security, that's nothing. That doesn't really mean anything. But perhaps that's how he met a lot of these CIA and mercenary guys, because they were also on security details. So we don't really know the extent on whether or not he was actually recruited for CIA-type missions while not being a CIA employee. But he clearly has rubbed shoulders with all these people. He clearly worked in the security industry. So it's really not that much of a stretch to think that he might have, done some kind of jobs while not even knowing it was for the CIA, right? Like, let's say there's a private security operation. And one of these CIA guys who Seagal at the time doesn't know is CIA. So if they're taking classes at his dojo or whatever, because he's known as this legit, English speaker, he's the only, Caucasian guy in Japan with his dojo, he would be a prime target for not only recruitment, but they might have actually contracted him for certain security operations without telling him it was for the CIA, right? He might not have even found out until way after the fact, if at all. So, yeah, all of this really isn't that outlandish as it seems. But the guys claiming he's a fraud are these disgruntled individuals over money. But they keep working with him after all of these disgruntlings. So apparently this is like a smear job article in Spy Magazine saying that Seagal's like a pig, various sexual harassment claims. But again, this is all stemming off of these disgruntled employees. Notice how this wasn't published outside of that. It's all building on that. So the other thing that's kind of curious here, summer of 91, this is the NASA story that we just went over regarding Herbert Saunders. And in 1993 in Spy Magazine, this also verifies that a top-level security consultant, he's not named, but it says here at this time in 1991, he's a 28-year veteran of a government intelligence agency, flew from Washington to New York at Seagal's behest. So that's kind of curious. So did Seagal pay him, or did he summon him through a mutual acquaintance? And who's the mutual acquaintance? Saunders never named this individual. So is this mutual acquaintance yet another CIA operative who worked with Seagal and these individuals on whatever missions in Asia? Because how else could he just randomly summon all these CIA operatives? And then, of course, Seagal's previous wife did an interview with Spy Magazine, and she said, some not nice things about Seagal. Again, obviously, disgruntled ex-wives. How much of that is true, untrue, we don't know. She said he was never involved with the Yakuza, but how would she know? Like, did she watch him every second of the day? It's weird. It's like a coincidence theorist or hallucination. Oh, well, his wife said he was never had anything to do with the CIA. Did she monitor him every single time he went out? Like, if she goes to sleep at night and he sneaks out on top secret CIA missions, like, how would she know? Or just he tells her he's going to a bar or something. Like, how would she? Did she follow him every second of every day? It's just kind of weird. Southwest says, when we lost Seagal to Russia, we lost a real American patriot. Well, he might not be done. He did not denounce his U.S. citizenship. He's a tri-citizen. Seabass says, could have been getting handled like Bill Cooper was at one point as well. Regardless, the CIA being around is never good news because the CIA are terrorists. I mean, the whole story is curious because you have these CIA operatives who have known Seagal for decades saying that he's a fraud, but they admit that he knew them for decades. Like, how many people are just friends with this many CIA agents and military contractors? I mean, it's just kind of weird. Like, it's kind of weird. And most of this article in Spy Magazine is just a hit piece on, you know, his personal relationships, etc., his wives. There's another interesting tidbit here. So, before he broke into movies, it was well known he was having financial problems. A dojo he opened when he returned from Japan in 1980 failed. A second one was only doing moderately well. According to his friend Bob Strickland, Seagal was so desperate for cash in '85 that he arranged for a soldier of fortune friend to steal LeBrock's Porsche Carrera for the insurance money. So again, how many soldier of fortune friends and CIA friends does this guy have? I mean, does anybody find it strange that he has this many CIA soldier of fortune, mercenary, military contractor friends? I mean, it's kind of weird. Wow. I mean, it's just weird. So they're saying he's committing insurance fraud while verifying that he has all these soldier of fortune friends. Where did he get these friends from? Operations in Southeast Asia, perhaps? The other thing you gotta wonder is the opening in Above the Law, where they're in Nam and all this stuff is going on. Like, how close? Like, how much does Steven Seagal and his buddies really know about? Like, were there really CIA? I mean, there were. You had the Phoenix program, and, you know, with the torture and all of that, MK Ultra tie-ins. So, did one of the legit CIA, one of Seagal's CIA friends tell Seagal about it? Or were they both involved in some kind of project with that, and then that's how he knew about it? So, anyway, here's an interesting tidbit here. Seagal had other sources of wealth more mysterious than insurance fraud. His pal, Mark Makita, who runs a dojo in LA, has known Seagal since his days as a martial arts instructor, says that on at least 2 occasions, a flat broke Seagal disappeared and for a week and returned flush with cash. This claim has been corroborated by Joe Hyams. And Joe Hyams is a Hollywood biographer. Pretty well known. According to Makita, Seagal once returned with a new car and a stack of $100 bills 6 inches high. Seagal boasted to Makita and Hyams that he had pulled a hit for the mob to get the money. That's kind of curious. I haven't seen that claim before. But he did seem to get really chummy with the mob in Nassau for some reason. I mean, Seagal just intersects with the CIA, with the mob. I mean, it's just crazy. If he really worked for the CIA, it would all make sense. Or in some capacity, it would all make sense. Flat Bob says, I mean, Bruce, we all have friends that kill people for the government, right? So in LA Times, he said that while he was in Japan, he was an advisor to several CIA agents, and through them he met many powerful people for whom he did special work and favors. That would kind of make sense based on who he surrounded himself with. Now here's this expose from Spy Magazine. Seagal undoubtedly knew some agents. Perhaps it was from them he appropriated the heroic tales he tells about himself. According to Mark Makita, the actor specializes in taking bits of other people's experiences and claiming them as his own. On one occasion, one of Seagal's students, a former Green Beret, was talking about his time in Laos. Later, Seagal told the same story to another group, only he now claimed to be the protagonist. Or Seagal actually worked with them on the same mission, just thinking out loud here. Or a similar mission if they weren't there on that mission. So here's very, very interesting. This is perhaps the, this is the biggest receipt thus far. In early '88, so this would have been an above the law, he was collaborating on a screenplay with two writers, Temak Kramer and the aforementioned Goldman, who describes himself as an unconventional warfare and intelligence specialist. During an LA Times interview at the time, Seagal once again floated a vague tale of his association with the CIA. Perhaps the reporter, Patrick Goldstein, was skeptical because Seagal took the further step of persuading Goldman to back up his tale. Well, did he persuade it, or did just Goldman back it up? I know this much, Goldman told the Times, quote, I've been out with Steven on several missions, and he knows how to get things done. He has a certain high level of skill that you don't just pick up reading fantasy magazines. I don't think anyone would question his abilities. Goldman then carefully added, I quote, I think it would be fair to say that at some point in time, Uncle Sam recruited Steven Seagal because they thought he had particular talents that would prove useful on certain assignments. And you know, here's the other thing. Seagal is an expert marksman. So why would an Aikido master specializing in martial arts and sword combat, how is he an expert marksman? But if he was a CIA operative or associated with CIA operatives, he would have to be an expert marksman. So there you go. And it wasn't until after their dispute over money that Goldman all of a sudden claimed Seagal as a fraud. What else is kind of curious in this article here? So Strickland is the one. So Seagal supposedly asked Strickland, the CIA operative, to kill Goldman for $50K. So Seagal supposedly repeated the request. Like, why would Seagal be that comfortable making that request and making it multiple times unless these were buddies from combat situations. I mean, that's a certain kind of friendship that's not easily shaken when, you know, lives are at stake and they're depending on each other for survival in these operations. Like, why else would Seagal randomly just be comfortable to make these offers to this guy, if they're even true, obviously? So Seagal told him Goldman left the country, and Goldman went to the Philippines in early 90 and didn't return for 2 years. And then the Los Angeles Police Department reportedly started looking into the whole affair. And then Strickland and Seagal ended up having a falling out, which again, only after the falling out are these people speaking out. So, there you go. We have verification of Seagal being buddy-buddy with all of these CIA agents, soldier of fortunes, and other, you know, military contractors. So, there you go. How many more receipts could there be? If Seagal's name, it really is on CIA files, confirming that he was involved in certain missions, that would be curious to see. But even that wouldn't stop the Seagal haters and this concerted Illuminati propaganda campaign against him for obvious reasons and his speaking out against the cabal. Hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the MINDSHOCK podcast and the most comprehensive and exhaustive examination of Steven Seagal with non-stop receipts. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.